Cellar Aged 2025 has arrived. Let's see how good it is. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. Yes, today we've got Maker's Mark Cellar Aged 2025 edition to review for you. It's a brand new release from Maker's. Really excited to see how this one stacks up. I haven't seen a ton of other reviews about this one yet, so we're just going in to really experience this whiskey. If you haven't been following along, this is the third release of the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged line. Started back in 2023, really caused sort of a stir in the whiskey world because it was the first time Maker's Mark had released anything older than their typical 6 to 7 year old age range for their standard products. At the distillery, it was long thought and long protected that their recipe was sort of best represented at around that age. But then they surprised us with Cellar Aged, which was a blend of 11 and 12-year-old whiskeys in 2023. Then in 2024, they took it up a notch. It was a blend of 12 and 13-year-old whiskeys. And then this year, we've got a blend of what is 11, 13, and 14-year-old whiskeys. Now, there is a caveat here. It's 74% 11-year whiskey, then 10% 13, and 16% 14 years. So not like a insignificant amount of that older stuff, the 13 and 14-year-old, but it does have a lot of 11-year in here, which actually makes it, I believe, the youngest combined blend of all of the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged releases so far. Still, this series has really been impressive. It is expensive at around $175 MSRP, but many have considered these some of the best releases of the last couple of years, and it's always great to be able to taste Maker's Mark at this much more well-aged profile. For me, I actually was able to get this bottle because I'm part of what's called the Whiskey Drop. I believe that's only available in a select few number of states right now, but Maker's Mark, if you're one of their ambassadors and part of this program, they will just ship this right to your doorstep. So that is a really cool experience. You pay a little bit more than MSRP, but worth it to not have to go out and really hunt these things. So we know what's in this blend, the makeup, but let's talk about the proof point here, which is 112.9 proof. So that's pretty solid. Today, I just want to focus on this bottle, so let's dive in. And if you're looking for a comparison to the last two releases, we are 100% going to do that. Just keep your eye out for it. I want to do that as a blind between all three, see what comes out on top. But for now, let's see how good 2025 release really is. So on the nose, the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged 2025. Oh yeah, oh man. Big, juicy red fruit is the first thing that jumps out to me. It's like a raspberry. It's probably the most prominent red fruit. Light cherry, sugary, and vanilla at the center of this thing too. Like a caramel, but lighter caramel butterscotch creme brulee feeling. So yeah, juicy red fruits, sugary, caramely, and definitely inviting. Maybe even a slightly darker fruit, like a stone fruit, plum richness to it, but mostly dominated by those big juicy red fruits. And then that caramel, brown sugar, creme brulee, gorgeousness. What I would say is there is almost nothing off-putting about that nose. It's all very inviting. I don't feel the 112 proof much at all. What I've had with the past couple of Cellar Aged is different experiences on the nose. The first release, the 2023, if I remember, it really felt a little bit dank and earthier, which made sense for the cellar part of the equation. Then the 2024 was a lot more like sugary and sugar cookie-esque. This feels a lot more fruity, it even just gives me a little bit more of a presence of like that cherry that you want with a really good, well-aged bourbon. All right, really solid start on the nose. Let's go in on the palate, see how it holds up. Cheers. Wow. That's really good. It's delicious. So much from the nose translated over, but with more layers on the palate. So the big juicy red fruit stuff is there. The raspberry, cherry, almost cordial or jam-like power. Good brown sugar and caramel. But then the two things that it added on the palate that I didn't really detect on the nose much, but are totally there. Really nice baking spice, warming oak spice as well. Like just a really nice spice that keeps it lingering for a while and blooms on your palate. And then chocolate, like a fudge note. I believe one of the master distillers or tasters for Maker's Mark said that that was one of the notes they were really proud of, and this is that more of a fudge characteristic. And man, that comes through on the palate with that nice spice and those other flavors. Let's go in for a second sip. Hopefully we can pick out some more flavors, see how it changes on the palate now that we've experienced it. Cheers. Okay, maybe a little bit more of a fudge, earth, chocolate kind of experience on the nose now that I go back to it. And I know to kind of look for it. All right, cheers. Dang, that is good. So my sister makes like gourmet cupcakes, and one of the best ones she makes is this like rich double chocolate one with a raspberry sauce like filling inside of it. This will give me a little bit of that vibe. It is very fudgy and chocolatey, but then the cherry raspberry nature of the sweetness is so good. And then the spice just helps it linger and gives you this sense that you are drinking something that's been in a barrel, that has some of that higher proof essence, and just kind of rounds it out. I'm not getting like a ton of complexity other than that, but man, is it leaning into those big, bold, sweet, just really nice flavors. Let's go in for a third sip. What we'll do now is we'll really track that finish, and then we'll think about the whiskey overall, and I'll let you know my final thoughts here. All right, cheers. Okay, nice. So just trying to track this finish and think about it. I do think I would put this on the lower end of long. What really sticks around is that warming spice feeling, and then a little bit of the raspberry sweetness, along with what I'm tracking is like a wheat presence, just like a wheat / vanilla or honey, something sweet and light kind of sticking on my palate. So that was another layer I think that got added to this whole experience. There is just like a wheat sweetness, almost a honey or vanilla, that just kind of edges its way into this sip. But again, it is dominated by fudge, earthy, chocolatey kind of vibe, but not as earthy as I remember the first release, the 2023. That one was even a little bit, again, like I said, dank or like so earthy that it could be a little off-putting. Again, we're gonna have to blind these all together and see what comes out on top, but this one does the fudge really, really well. But then the bright raspberry and cherry, I think, is more of the star of the show. And then, yeah, you get that blooming spice that kind of keeps it on your palate for quite a while. Maker's Mark, Cellar Aged 2025. What are my final thoughts here? It's coming out swinging. This is a really, really good whiskey. This is a really good wheated profile. The other two releases in the series, again, we are gonna have to blind these all together, but I remember loving them at first, at times having a little bit of a struggle with maybe parts of the profile, especially with that first release. I've kind of gone back and forth on it. This one just like pleasant all the way through, and I am really, really enjoying sipping on it. Do I think it's worth $175? This one I would say that it is. What I would say it reminds me of, or put it in the category of, is if you took a really good, well-aged Four Roses single barrel that had a more of a cherry or fruit profile like they tend to have, but then you added more layers than I typically get on a Four Roses, and a little bit more depth in that fudge note from this wheated profile, that's why I think it's worth it. It's like better than the best Four Roses single barrels I've had. I'm also thinking of something like a Remus Repeal. I've had those, they're lower proof. They've got that cherry cordial and oak note that I think is really nice, but they don't deliver as much power and just full-on flavor experience like this one is. So it really is, I think it does deserve that sort of step up in exclusivity and price. Still, I wish the bourbon market was a little bit more reasonable these days. I just think this one's delivering a profile that is sweet, full of flavor, and that most bourbon drinkers are really, really going to enjoy. Hope you get a chance to try it or find one in the wild and are able to acquire this bottle if it sounds like one that you would really enjoy sipping on. Let me know in the comments below if you have had the chance to try this one and what you thought so far. What do you think of the whole Maker's Mark Cellar Aged series as a whole? Let me know, and we'll start a little conversation. Till I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey and cheers.